Hello and welcome once again to another exciting edition of Torah Talks, live from the House of Rabs. Hi, I'm Rabbi Rabs. I'm your host for the evening, and to my right is the one and only, the very holy Levi ben Avraham, a.k.a. Luke Ford. Say hello.
Garden Fun wants to know if we're going to address the pink elephant. What's that? Did she just send us another gnome?
I don't know.
She sent us a gnome, a pink elephant garden gnome.
Oh no, are we? Again? Alright, so there's a lot of people here tonight. So first a quick shout out. We've already got 6 people in the chat room and another 6 people who are watching us who haven't logged in the chat room. And I've asked you several times to go ahead and log in so we know who you are. So hello to Abe's and Garden Fun, that's Ellen, and Greg is back. Hey Greg, and Malachi and Michelle, and oh, here's somebody.
Who's Greg? Greg is back.
Remember Greg from who posts all those terrible Jewish music videos on he emails them to us on Facebook?
Oh, Greg.
Yeah, Greg.
He's in a paralegal workshop. That's what I need to be in so I can up my salary.
Oh, is that what is? Yeah.
You mentioned a paralegal workshop, so Greg's not in this country, right?
Yes, he is.
What city?
I think he's in Seattle or something.
Greg, email me about, take it easy on the music videos, and email me, if I haven't blocked you, email me about paralegal workshops.
Okay, so we're off to a running start tonight.
So, now that I'm
8 people in the chat.
Now that I'm making money again, I'm back in writing class.
Okay.
And I'm back in sex addiction meetings.
Oh, tell us about that.
So, of course, everything that goes on in a sex addiction meeting cannot leave the meeting. But wouldn't it be ironic if I went to a sex addiction meeting and there was like a hot blonde who was like a 10 out of 10 who was wearing a bright top? Normally people wear like subdued clothing in sex addiction meetings because you don't want to trigger people. But like imagine that I show up to a sex addiction meeting for the first time in like 7 months.
Right.
And there's a smoking hot blonde, 10 out of 10, in a bright top, bright colors, no bra, and high heels.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be ironic?
And what happened?
Well, we just all share and, work the 12 steps and...
Where do you go for this?
There are meetings. Just Google sex addiction 12-step programs. There are 4 different 12-step programs. They're all over West Los Angeles and Greater Los Angeles, and every city has sex addiction meetings. So it's so good to be back in there. Now my life is pretty calm. Like I haven't looked at porn in well over a year. I haven't had sex in years. So I'm pretty much on the straight and narrow. I'm not acting out my sex addiction in the obvious ways anyway. And so it was really good to be back in my meetings, to be back in writing class, to be be social, to drive to Venice without feeling guilty that I can't afford this is too expensive. And there are wonderful things you can do when you have a job and you make a paycheck. So I'm pretty happy.
Okay, great. And we have somebody in the chat room. It's one of these anonymous internet people.
Mm-hmm.
It's FB25. Some. Could you just tell us who you are or how you know us? What is it called? Anonymous. You. Because anonymous profiles, I don't know who they are. They just give me the willies.
So you must have been pretty happy last night. The Kings won.
Kings won.
Was that like a relief from the tedium and misery?
Hold on. I just want to say what this person said.
Okay.
They said, but you just mimicked some movie called Choke.
It's a novel.
It's a novel.
Yeah.
Where the guy goes...
By the same guy who wrote the novel Fight Club, which was turned into a movie.
Oh, okay.
So a guy goes to sex addiction meetings and picks up people. But I've never seen any of that at any of the meetings I go to. And it's certainly contrary to the spirit of sex addiction meetings to use them as pick-up houses.
Right, it's almost as bad as Breaking Bad, where they go to the The recovery.
Right. The recovery groups to sell their drugs.
They go there to sell drugs to people. All right. So.
You were pretty stoked about the Kings last night?
Oh yeah.
Winning in hockey.
Oh yeah, that was a great game, man. And this year, I mean, let's face it. Wait a minute. He keeps saying hi, Natalie. Who is he talking to? How does he know that somebody's name?
My name is Natalie Castillo.
Oh!
Hey, Natalie, great to see you.
I know Natalie. Where does she say that? Because I don't have my glasses on, and I can't see.
It was hard to get signed in. My name is Natalie Castillo.
Oh, it's Natalie. Oh, hey, how's it going? She's a friend of mine on Facebook. Okay, thank you for telling us who you are. All right, so that's what's going on here. There's a ton of people tuned in tonight. Because I think they're tuning in because they got the wrong show. Do you know what happened this last week? You have no idea?
No idea.
Esther and I broke up.
Oh, I had no idea.
You really never go on Facebook anymore, do you?
Very little.
Okay, so if you happen to pay attention to me at all this last week, you would know that.
Right, and I haven't.
Right. Okay. So we broke up, and I said on a post on Motzi Shabbos that I'm going to do a solo show this week to let people know what happened, right? Mm-hmm. And then I announced that we're doing Torah Talks, which is what we always do on Monday nights. But I got a feeling some of these people are tuning in because they want to hear the story. So if you're just tuning in because you want to hear the story, you're not going to hear it tonight because I'm not talking about it on Torah Talks.
I sense something is different about you.
Yeah. You can tell by the room. There's things missing.
Wow, Luke, what a cold reaction. Oh yeah, there are no pictures
There's
of
no
Esther.
pictures of Esther. And all the cards and all the shit she sent me, it's not in this room anymore. So that's probably like the first thing you noticed.
No, I didn't until you pointed it out.
Yeah, but it's gone. Yeah. So,
why don't you want to talk about it on Torah Talks? I mean, I don't care, but just I don't care that you don't want to talk about it on Torah Talk.
I don't feel comfortable talking about it in this venue, to be honest.
Because of my people?
Because of your people, to be honest.
Yeah.
In any second, the douchebag's going to come into the room, and, I don't want to be talking to an insensitive asshole sitting there.
I mean,
it's bad enough
you do it every week with me, but...
No, but I mean, if I'm going to open up and talk about something that I'm right now very vulnerable, I don't want this fucking asshole in the chat room fucking it up for. I'd rather wait, when I have control of the environment, and I can talk about it later on this week. Probably Wednesday night, everybody. I'll probably do it Wednesday night, and I'll have a controlled environment where I control who's listening to, and I can say whatever I want, and I can feel comfortable. It's hard enough talking to you because, halfway through my talk, you're going to be like, looking to see, like, is
what's the score?
Yeah, what's the score? Is Pau Gasol scratching his ass? Like, what's going on over there? So, you know what? I don't need people who are not focused and caring and sensitive and supportive. So I'm not talking about it tonight. So that's the story of that. So if you just came in, and whoever you are, if you came in, and that's all you wanted to hear tonight, you're not going to hear tonight. Tune in Wednesday night. So I'll give you 5 minutes to leave, and there won't be any.
Are you and Esther still Facebook friends?
No. You really don't pay attention to anything.
No, I mean, I haven't checked in on anybody.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened, okay?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened. She wrote to me and she said she's leaving me for Luke.
Yeah, I was wondering why she sent me that email and those photos.
All right, so that's what's going on. All right, let's talk about...
The Kings. Did that help your depression?
No. Hey, yeah, yesterday was a great entertainment day. First, the Clippers won Game 7 on the road.
What about the Lakers winning Saturday night? Did
Yes.
it mean anything to you?
It was a religious experience.
Yeah, that was amazing.
The Lakers won on Saturday night, Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Clippers, of all fucking people, won a Game 7 on the road. I really thought they were going to lose. I thought, that one.
I thought the Lakers were going to lose, too.
Yeah, I thought they might do that, too. And those two won. And then the Kings won again. This is something they've never done before. Here's something that no one's ever said, ever. The LA Kings are in the conference final, and they're leading 1-0. That's never been said before. That's never been said in their history. That's never happened. So see, you're already looking up, to see what's going on. So, and then we had the Mob Wives season finale last night. So it was like a great night for entertainment.
So Abe says, Luke, you've been under a friggin' rock. Don't you know that Esther and Raz broke up? Abe, I have a job.
That's okay. My family didn't know.
I don't look at people's Facebooks. I'll turn it on And, people may message me and I'll check in, once an hour. But Facebook plays a role very similar to email. Like, I don't check in with people via email.
Well, if somebody really wants to get in touch with you, every time I call, I get voicemail. So what's the best venue to get in contact with you?
Well, the most important thing is to use good grammar.
Right.
And be appropriate. If you don't know me, don't go, "Hey, Luke," particularly if you want a favor. Like, don't go, "Hey, Luke," "Hey, bro, what up, dude?" Say, "Dear Mr. Ford."
or what was it? Sir Luke Ford.
But I do notice the last year or so, maybe even longer, I kind of dread answering the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never answer my phone either. I don't.
Yeah, I kind of dread that, and my boss notices it too. He'll always tell me, "Okay, so follow up with so and so," and I always turn it into a fax or an email or a snail mail letter.
All right.
And he always means for me to get on the phone and work something out. So he's kind of picking up on that. So there is, I've kind of called in on myself, kind of limiting my interaction with the outside world.
Jesus, you sound like me.
Yeah.
I've rubbed off on you.
Yeah.
Not in a good way.
Yeah. And so I've noticed that kind of defensive reaction I have to the phone and to the outside world in general. Like, I haven't been on a date in a year. I've only been on 2 dates in the last 2.5 years. So I think those were dates that I went on. Nothing happened.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Really?
Yeah, because last summer.
Yeah, I went on 2 dates last summer.
And then we're not there yet. We're not into the summer yet.
It was like last May, June.
It was June.
Yeah.
Because I remember me and what's the guy's name? Rodolfo. Adolfo were standing in your front yard.
Yeah, talking about it.
Talking about this chick you were dating.
Yeah, we only went out twice, and I'm not even sure we were dating. We went out twice. So I may be that old guy that she went out with for giggles, or who knows. But so it's been a long time. So I've kind of caught in on myself. But now I'm back out there. I'm in writing class. I'll be reading one of my stories on June 10th.
That's better.
At Beyond Baroque in Venice.
Okay.
Sunday, 1 p.m. And I'm back in my sex addiction meetings, so I meet people that way. Like male companionship or platonic female friendship. And I've got a job, so I see people every day at the office, so that's good. And I go to synagogue every day. So those things together, and I'm getting some invites, at synagogue. I'm getting invited back to people's lives.
That's one thing to get invited, but are they actually following through by taking you home, or they just say, Luke, come over for dinner?
No, they've actually followed through by taking me home.
And they're taking you home this time.
Yeah.
So we're making progress, buddy. Woo!
So I want to get back to fandom. I heard this great theory, which I think applies to you and to me.
Okay.
And it was a psychiatrist, and he was making the point that you really think of people who are really strongly fans as being happy people, that most fans are unhappy people who, unsatisfied with their own lives, kind of attach themselves to a team and kind of live vicariously through the team. And I thought, I think there's something to that. Because I think the more emotionally affected you are by the fortunes of your team, the less you have going on in your real life. Like, I think someone who's married with kids, a job, and a mortgage, and a religion, who's clinging to their guns and to their religion, they're not going to be as emotionally affected as someone who doesn't have a mortgage, doesn't have a job, doesn't have a family, doesn't have a spouse, doesn't have religion. What do you think?
I say you can't make sweeping generalizations like that.
Right, so you think someone who's rabid fan and dramatically emotionally affected by the fortunes of their team, it could be like someone who's successful and got it going on.
Okay, I want to tell you something. The Kings. Mm-hmm. They went to the Stanley Cup in 1993. Mm-hmm. Okay? I went to the Stanley Cup Finals. I went to Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals in 1993.
Mm-hmm.
I went with a guy who was a frummie, very frum guy, a doctor, a medical doctor, big family, very frum, learns every day, right? But just like me, we're Kings fans. We were at the game. I don't think...
And how much is he emotionally affected by the outcome of the Kings? Like, I don't see that guy dragging around all day if the Kings lose the Stanley Cup, which they did. I don't see him being bummed out for days like I used to be
you're taking
when
it a
the
different...
Cowboys would be
You're
knocked
talking
out
about
of the
something
playoffs.
else.
I'd be bummed out for days.
Okay, you're talking about something else. You're not talking about people who, like, are really thinking about the game, and buying tickets to the game, and going to the game because they're really interested in the game. You're talking about somebody
people who are emotionally affected by the outcome.
Emotionally affected, where like
they're dragging for days, they're down for days if their team loses.
If their team loses, like you had a bad day, like it's the commercial, right?
Right. Or they're out partying and overturning cars, and rioting when their team wins.
All right. I want to give you something on this one, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I've been saying this for years. If you live in a town that's a dump, and there is no...
New Orleans.
No, New Orleans has things. They don't need sports teams. They have, like, Bourbon Street, and they have things going on.
Fuckers.
But a depressed town, right, where the identity of the town...
is crap.
Is...
unemployment.
Is this team.
Failure.
Is this team.
Yeah.
It's like that's there's the, so like when they lose, it's like the town just took a crap, right? I mean, it's just like everyone.
Well, taking a
feels
crap is a great thing.
Okay, I'm going to give you some instances. I can think of places where their self-identity as a town is that team. Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
If you lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, there's a sense of community around that team.
But there's something different about Green Bay, sorry to interrupt, in that they and like Vikings can play, and you'll have like Vikings fans and Green Bay fans, together, and they don't riot and they don't beat each other up. Right? So there's something special about, in other cities like Philadelphia.
Philadelphia is the worst fans in America.
Yeah.
They're the worst fans in America. It doesn't matter what team is out there on the field. Philadelphia brings out the trash of America.
And I knew a lot of very nasty 49er fans.
Really?
Yeah.
What about across the bay is worse than Oakland?
Yeah, let alone
Copeland.
Yeah.
Copeland.
But yeah, Green Bay fans are quite civil, and same with Vikings fans.
Okay. But I'm just saying that there's the sense of loss that you described, I think, is very much tied into how important is that team to that city. I think an Edmonton Oilers loss is going to affect people in Edmonton a lot more than a Ducks loss is in Orange County because we just get on with our lives. We have a million other things going. Like as soon as the Ducks lose, you got the Kings, and the Kings lose, you got the Lakers and the Clippers, and then we're back to baseball, and we've got just too many things.
There's so much going on in Los Angeles, even without sports.
Yeah, we don't
care that much.
We don't care that much. It's not going to kill us. We move on to the next. It's like Luke with his women.
So speaking of women and this mob wife, is this kind of what you look for in a woman? Like I'm looking at her. She's got an amazing rack. Is that like number one quality that you seek? Is like a great rack, or is it for you as a face?
No, it's because I've 2 seasons with her on the show. I've gotten to know her personality, and originally I did not like her, and I thought she was disgusting, and I had no respect for her. But like I've slowly
gained respect for her.
She's used her charms on me.
Wow. I hate to think about what's happening in this apartment. Used to be that woman, but I'm not going to go there because I've had people notice that since I've had a job that I've become more normal, and I'm not as whacked out on the show and not quite as inappropriate. So
that's good
because I have people on my floor at work who watch the show now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I don't want to be talking about gross things and then showing up to work and saying, hey, can you help me with workers' comp section 2147?
and the night before that you left an image in their head.
Right,
You're taking a dump in a Ralph's bag.
Exactly. That's what I want to do anymore. I've got a job. I work for an upstanding lawyer, and
but meanwhile, we got booted out of your doing the shows in your place because the neighbors complain.
Yeah, well, there are children all around, and I don't want like Raz was going on. Do you ever make a sex tape? And I'm like trying to keep things on a high level, and Raz going, "You ever make a sex tape?" And like, "Oh, f this, f that," and I'm always thinking, what about the children? What about the little kiddies? What about the example I set to the people that I work with? Oh, but I was inspired by what you said on last Torah talk about. I was having a hard time keeping my traditional Torah Jew thing going at work. You know, I find myself going to synagogue, learning, praying, coming home, then going to work and start talking like a shady character. You know, I start telling people about my scenes with Jenna J and Marilyn and Tara. And
so what's happening now?
So I thought, okay, so that very next morning I said, okay, I need to bring some Torah books to... So
you're bringing Sforim to work?
Some Sforim to work. But I looked at my poultry collection of Sforim and said, no, I don't want to risk, leaving any of these behind. So what I did is I went to work and I printed out the Ten Commandments in Hebrew.
Okay.
And I posted that on my bulletin board. And I also printed out Hatikvah in Hebrew and posted that on my bulletin board.
That's got nothing to do with Torah.
Well, it's about the hope, the Jewish hope and the homeland. And
all right, so
I've got those both in Hebrew on my
bulletin board. Are you afraid to buy a book, let's say, and because you may leave it at work?
Yeah, I don't have anything really suited to leave at work, so I will buy a book. I will buy a book. I mean,
buy a sefer.
Yeah, I need more than just Hatikvah, or the 9 questions people ask about Judaism. But whenever I get down, I look at Hatikvah and I think this is the hope of the Jewish homeland that has sustained Jews for thousands of years, and.
Alright, enough.
Yerushalayim.
So, what happens next? You're going to buy a sefer and...
Yeah, and I'll keep it at work. And I think actually putting that stuff up, it did help my behavior this week.
Because you're a little bit more ashamed.
Yeah, I was a little bit more ashamed.
It creates a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, I kind of see that. And also there's people that I go to shul with and who I work with who watch the show or on Facebook and who are on the floor with me. So I don't want to get too raunchy because I'm going to hear about it the next day at work. So
hey, Ruben's in the room. Hey, Ruben.
So yeah, that's helped.
Okay, 14 people watching us right now, Luke.
Shall we go to the Torah portion?
You want to go to? Let's get right into the heavy-duty Torah. Okay, folks, it's going to get real boring now.
We have 2 Torah portions this week: Behar and Bechutai.
No, Bechukosai. Let's try it again.
Bechukotai.
Okay.
Which is Leviticus chapter 25 to the end of Leviticus 27.
Okay, so Behar-Bechukosai, what does that mean in Hebrew?
I've forgotten.
Okay, let's take it apart. Let's work it from the shorish, which is the root of the word. Mm-hmm. The root of the word is chayk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, which means commandment.
Which is a commandment.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Hukosai is plural. Okay, and it's I don't know how you say this. Second person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Second person masculine plural. Are you good at grammar?
I'm okay.
Okay, so what would that mean?
It's like you being he. Yeah, you.
Huk. Put the huk in there. Put the chayk.
Plural commandments.
Plural commandments. Your.
For men. Your
commandment. Now you're saying to the person, to God, right? Who's a male, right? You're saying
your commandments.
Your commandments, right? Chukosai, be is in.
Mm-hmm.
So in your commandments, selechu, which means you'll go. So you're going to go in your commandments. What does Behar mean?
First fruits?
Huh?
I've forgotten.
Behar, she's a comedian. She's not very funny.
Joy Behar.
Joy Behar, yeah. No, Behar is in the mountain.
She with the People's Palestinian Liberation Front or the Liberation Front?
I don't know. She's a
People's
big,
Liberation
loudmouth
Palestine.
liberal. I can't stand her.
I know.
And she's like pro-Muslim. You know, she'd be the first person to be killed if Muslims took over this country. So I can't listen to people like her. Har is mountain. Behar means in the mountain. So in the mountain and in your commandments. Okay, take it away. Don't let me slow you down.
Now, when the Jews breach the covenant, does not always occasion immediate and sudden punishment and tragedy. Jewish history has very few instances of instantaneous punishments or instantaneous rewards.
Where do we see that?
It's always been a long process of events.
Where do we see, though, that there has been instantaneous things?
In the Bible somewhere?
Yeah, you know, like when Moshe comes down from the mountain.
Right.
People are killed instantly. Yeah, we do see that there are instantaneous things, but there are things that take several years to unfold.
Right. There have been times when I've been struck lame.
You've been what?
Struck lame?
What does that mean?
I wasn't able to perform.
It's a good thing you've cleaned up your act on the show. Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so this is true in our personal lives as well. You can pick up Torah and it won't necessarily have instantaneous rewards. So I'm on a good path right now.
That's right.
And I believe it will lead to marriage and children, but there have been no quick results. I just just steadily working away, did my Orthodox conversion, I finished my Alexander Technique teacher training, I've taken a job, I've got a beautiful new apartment, I've done years of therapy, I'm 12-stepping. I'm doing these hard bits of work and haven't found my bashert, haven't found my woman yet, but things are, I'm up to date with my credit card payments and I'm on a good path.
See, here's the thing on that. Can I comment?
Mm-hmm.
It says in Pirkei Avos that one should not do Torah and mitzvahs for the reason of they think they're going to get reward.
Yeah.
Instead, one should do Torah and mitzvahs with the idea that they're not going to get a reward.
Right.
You just do them anyways. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. God says this is what you got to do. You just go do it. Don't worry about, am I going to get paid back for this? Where's all the, because I've been down that road.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been down that road. Okay? And let me tell you something. That is not the road you want to go down. When you go down and you say, oh, here I am, I'm learning full time, I gave up everything in my life to go sit and learn full time and blah, 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 blah. And, if God's got to come through, He's got to take care of me. He's got to give me a wife and money and whatnot. And I'm living proof that it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that. If you think it's all going to be like so great, because I look at me, I'm doing the frum thing, and it's just like so great. God's giving me so much money, and I've got this wife, and I got all these kids, and I'm so happy. I say, if that happens to you, you're very lucky. But there's no guarantee it's going to work like that. And I'm living proof to tell you, you can actually give up your whole life and go and sit and learn full time for a decade, go become a rabbi, go work as a rabbi for a decade, and at the end of the day, you'll still be single. You'll still have just as many problems, if not more. And, chicks will leave you left and right. And you're never going to find happiness. You're going to try all kinds of different careers, and you're not going to succeed at any of them. And the bracha is not there. But here's the thing that's very important to understand. Here's the thing to understand. The reward that you're talking about, and we're talking about,
mm-hmm.
is not much of a reward.
Well, a wife, that's a reward. It's a big reward.
Can I? I'll explain. Because those rewards are being paid to you in this world, as opposed to the world to come. It is better to get your rewards in the next world and not in this one. And the reason is, this world is only temporary. It seems like forever. Especially like in some of those 3-day Yom Tovs, like the one we have coming up. those like seem like time stops and you're never going to get out of it. You know, or like lady starts talking for 20 minutes and starts singing. You think like it's never going to end. Time moves very slowly in this world, but it's eternal in the world to come. The next world is eternal. So what would you rather have? Be a billionaire, right, with a 10 blonde wife in this world with big hooters, right?
Yeah, that's what I prefer.
Big hooters, and she has like a business suit. She's got good grammar, and she has high heels. High heels.
That's what I want.
Right? And like she doesn't like start up with you or anything. She's like very submissive.
Yeah.
You know? And what would you rather have? Her and you have $10 billion and you don't have to work anymore, and you can just like write your blog and tell everybody what you think. Right? You don't have to answer to any.
Take fathers with my wife.
Right? But then in the world to come, right, you're the poor guy, right? And meanwhile I, who doesn't have a pot to piss in this world,
We
right?
get to learn Torah in the world to come.
50 years old, never been married, right? Never going to be married, right? But what if on the other side, eternally, I'm with the chick with the big hooters, the big blonde chick with the big hooters, right? And I've got $1 billion in the world to come. And you're like, you know, living in somebody's garage. You'll be living in my fucking garage in the back of my set of Olam Abba, right? What would you rather have, right?
I'd rather have the here and now.
You'd rather have the here and now?
Yeah.
Rabbi Victor Miller says, the worst thing that you can do is want your reward taken from your portion of the world to come and given to you now. He said there's nothing worse that a Jew can hope for. Because what you've done is you've taken something that's this big and reduced it down to like nothing. You've taken this huge reward and you've turned it into a tiny reward. Right? You've taken like it's like you became the owner of Apple, the company Apple, and it was worth like $75 billion or something, right? And it was all your money, and you reduced it down to like your business. You had nothing from it. You had to fire all the employees, you know, and it was like nothing. You had no money. You just destroyed everything, right? You just put an atom bomb on your entire future. Right? So Rabbi Miller says the best thing you can do is when all this stuff turns to shit. And I'm not trying to preach here because I'm guilty of this myself. But I'm trying to keep this in focus this last week. In fact, I've come to some realizations, which I'm going to talk about Wednesday, that you just got to say, okay, you know what? If I can just suffer through 50 more years of this shit, it's all going to be a big payoff in the world to come. Because I'm obviously not getting my brachas in this world. And nothing's going right for me in this fucking world. So it's got to be paid off to me later. So knowing that, wouldn't you rather have it paid off later than paid off now? It's like a U.S. savings bond. Did you ever get these?
Or a 401k.
A 401k.
Your 401k.
What would you? A 401k? That's brilliant. An annuity fund, right? You have an annuity fund that when you turn 65, let's say, or whatever it is, 59 and a half, you can withdraw, and you're going to get like this big amount of money. But you can early withdraw, and I think Luke knows about early withdrawal, right?
No, about premature withdrawal.
Yeah, you made a deposit, but it was a premature withdrawal.
Before the term expired.
Right, and then you get docked, and you get taxed on it too. You get screwed, in the hindquarters. That's exactly what this is. So would you liquidate your annuity funds, or would you hold on to them until they mature?
This is not like the typical Jewish choice. Like the Jewish thing is to try to do as well as you can in the here and now, as well as living reputably for the world to come. But like Jews don't postpone, Torah Jews don't postpone what they need to do in the here and now to...
Who's postponing? I'm saying a very simple thing. You're asking for brachas, right?
Yeah.
Right? And you're hoping you get them.
Yeah, I hope I'm getting them in this life.
Right? You hope you get them. But I'm saying is, maybe it's not meant to be in this life. Maybe it's just not meant to be. So instead of saying, oh, what's going on here? I've done all these things. I just need the brachas to get married. I need some money, blah, 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 blah. Is saying, okay, you know what? It's not meant to be. I just have to come to grips with it and accept it. That there's no bracha in there for me, and I can keep going to the fridge and pulling the soda, the bottle out, but I keep pouring it, nothing's coming. And you can just keep doing that a million times, and it's just not there. And you just say to yourself, okay, you know what? It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. And so instead of getting uptight about it, or whatever, what I want to do, this is where I want to focus now, is on just, focusing on it's going to come in the next world.
Why not focus on making things right now?
Because I've tried and everything I do fails.
Well, why not try something different?
What exactly would that be?
I'd go to people you respect and ask for their advice and follow it, some of it, even if you don't like it.
All right, you obviously don't have any clue of my situation. That's not going to solve anything. The point is, we started this because you said that you're getting into all your hard work, and you want to see reward from it.
Yep.
And I'm saying is, if you don't see your reward for it now, that is a good thing, because you're going to see the reward for it later. And later it's permanent, and now it's temporary. So the fact that you don't get your reward now, you can try to feel good about it. I'm not saying you should, but I say you can feel good about it, knowing that you're going to be even better rewarded later.
I believe that.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. Lakers are getting their butts handed to them.
Much of the world has outgrown these forms of idolatry, and this is largely due to the unremitting struggle of Judaism against such practices. So for most of us, a lot of sins, such as like bowing down to idols or having homosexual sex or incest, these sins are just unthinkable. Like, we'd never do it in a million years. And much the reason for why many people have this mindset that, there are certain sins that I am tempted to, but there are others that are no temptation, is in large part because of Judaism. Like, we often...
What were the three that you threw off?
Incest, homosexual sex, idolatry.
And you say nobody wants any of those three?
No, I'm saying I want none of those three, and many people who are watching this show want none of those three.
You'd be surprised.
What percentage of people do you think watching this show, let's say it's a normal group of Torah observant Jews, what percentage of them do you think want none of those three?
Want none?
Yeah.
I
would say like at least 90%.
Okay, I'm going to tell you it's very simple, okay? I hold by people who know more than us, right? According to the Rambam and according to Rashi, if God gives a mitzvah and he says, don't do X, Y, Z, that means God also gives a desire to do X, Y, Z. The logic is very simple. If there's no Yetzer Hora, if there's nothing pushing a person, driving a person to commit X, Y, and Z, then there's no big deal staying away from them. Therefore, it must be that everything that God says, don't do, there must be a very strong desire in us to do it. Therefore, it behooves us to come to the conclusion that if you have, what did you say, 100 from Jews?
Yeah.
That 99% of from Jews want to, what other things? Do avodah zorah, do idolatry, have homosexual sex, and bang their sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 99% want to do all those things.
Okay, I would say that...
But they're not going to tell you that because it's taboo to admit the truth. Okay? They're going to tell you, or you may think that they're never, have desires for that. But I'm telling you that if God says don't do something, He's given everyone a desire to do it. Okay? And if some people are afraid to admit that they have that desire, that doesn't change anything. That just obfuscates the truth. Okay? Everyone has a desire for incest to some degree. Everyone has a desire for a homosexual act to some degree. Everyone has a desire to bow down to a Avodah Zorah.
Okay.
There. I had to say that.
So have you ever had a desire to eat the limb of a living animal?
A limb of a living animal. Is that a Torah purpose?
It's one of the 7 Noahide laws.
It's a Noahide law, but it's not one of the 613. A limb of an Noah. I have to think about that. I do have a big taiva to eat animals.
Yeah.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. As someone who's always been a vegetarian has never consciously had a desire to eat meat, that one just doesn't show up on my radar.
Oh, like I said 99% because there's some things that like I do, there's some things that I just don't understand at all. Like you're not allowed to eat a bug, and I talked about that before. I cringe at the idea of eating a bug, right? I mean, that just freaks me out how anyone can eat a bug. I get squeamish, So I everyone's got their own thing. Garden Fun. Ellen asked an interesting question. Does that mean 99% of Jews want to kill their parents?
Right.
And I'm going to say, is it only 99? What? And why is it just Jewish? I think every teen at some point has visualized and fantasized about how they were going to kill their parents. I think that just goes along with being a teenager. No, am I wrong? I think everyone's played with that fantasy at some point. The question is, how many people are willing to admit they've also had fantasies about having sex with their parents? That's the question. Sex is very taboo. Nobody wants to admit having desires for it. Luke's very upfront with it. He says he's addicted to it. So I give you props that at least you're able to talk about it, right? Because there's a lot of people so wrapped up they don't even want to hear about it. They have nothing to do with it. They don't even have sexual desires because in their minds they're a virgin.
Well, they live in polite society, and in polite society you don't talk about these things in public. In polite society, you don't normally talk about these things in public.
Right. Obama did the other day. He actually came out and said that the homosexual act or something homosexual marriage should be permitted in America.
Who do you love? Who do you love?
It became,
in the words of Joe Biden.
It now has worked its way onto the 6 o'clock hour on the news.
Our first gay president.
At 6 o'clock, they're now talking about homosexual sex. So we used to be very shocking. We used to be at the cutting edge, not so much anymore, Liddy. Our topics have been done.
Okay, God's wisdom and judgment are inscrutable, writes Beryl Wine, and beyond even elementary comprehension by us mortals. As such, we are left wondering as to the tragedies that descended upon the Jewish people that continue to plague us today. And there are those who are prepared to give and accept glib answers as to the causes of the tragedy. But the wise men of Israel warned against this approach. Observance of commandments is enormously difficult to fulfill completely and accurately. So when I meet someone who links bad times in Jewish history to specific failings of a specific group, with a specific mitzvah, I'm generally think that that's really faulty way to look at things, and that I'm most likely dealing with a fool. So,
okay,
for instance, we had there's some terrorist attack in Israel, and a rabbi said, well, this came about because the community didn't check their mezuzahs and check to see if their mezuzahs were kosher and the scrolls were intact and fully kosher. So I think to speak for God in these instances of extreme Jewish suffering, such as the Holocaust or terrorist attacks or pogroms, and say, well, this is all because this specific group of Jews did not perform this and this mitzvah, I think it's really foolish. Go ahead.
So
talk about Rabbi Victor Miller.
You just took a shot at me and Rabbi Miller. You know that. You know damn well. We talked about it on this show. You just took a shot. You tried to insult Rabbi Miller, But I'm not going to let you get away with it. Rabbi Miller, and we've talked about it before, writes in Rejoice O Yud. He expands at great length. And you use the word foolish. Do you think that somebody
who does it is foolish?
So you think Rabbi Miller's foolish?
In that respect.
if you knew anything, you'd realize that you're the one who's foolish. Rabbi Miller makes a very airtight case as to the cause of the Holocaust. And if you want to learn the cause of the Holocaust and you have an open mind, I suggest and I highly recommend that you read Rejoice, O Youth. Because once you've read it, it's an airtight case according to Torah. The Torah tells us that the wise man looks at the ant and grows wise. No, yeah, if someone who studies the ant grows wise, and the fool doesn't spend the chance to learn from the ant. The ant, the one who studies the ant, becomes the wise one. The one who doesn't study the ant becomes the fool. You are a fool because you didn't take the time to learn step by step how in Torah we believe in what's called Midah Keneged Midah, that it's measure for measure. When you learn the Holocaust, according to Rabbi Miller, you will see that everything that happened along the way is clearly, without question, Midah Keneged Midah. That everything that happened is a measure for measure against what happened in Europe. You will see it. He makes a crystal clear case. Anyone who argues against it needs to sit down, needs to read it, needs to understand what the Torah says. Only the fool would dismiss all of that without having studied it from the inside.
So Rabbi Beryl Wine writes, "So we regularly pray for health and serenity. We must always be aware of how precarious these situations truly are." So Judaism is a recipe for a good life. Like, it has a lot of wisdom about how to lead your life, not just in the relationship to God, but also in your relationship to your business, to other people, to how much time you spend with your family, to how much time you spend working, how much time you spend studying, how much time you spend alone, how much time you spend in community, how much time is for partying, how much time is for introspection. It gives you a lot of detailed guidance how to lead a good life. But at the same time that you're studying this guidance and following Judaism's prescriptions for a good life, it also prepares you for the tremendous tragedies that are always around us, and you never know what's coming around the corner. So I think it's a sweet combo. Both gives you guideposts and signs and directions for achieving a higher quality life, and at the very same time it prepares you for when life just absolutely throws you down and stumps on you. Because, like, for instance, people who lose a family member, then the community will usually rally around them. In a traditional community, people will bring food, people will come make shiva calls, and you're not alone during this particularly difficult time. If you give birth, the community rallies around and provides meals. If you lose your job, people will try to hook you up with a job. If you need a loan, people in your community will often try to set you up for a loan or actually lend you money. So it helps you get through the tough times, as well as giving you ways to connect to other people, to develop your bonds, to marry, to have kids, to raise them righteously, and to enjoy life. And someone you picked up in a club for the night, and you both would get drunk and you hook up, they're not really likely to stand by you if you lose your legs in an accident or if your mummy dies.
I got news for you.
Mm-hmm.
You could starve to death in the Frum community just as easy as you could in the non-Frum.
Oh, really? So what are some examples of Frum people starving to death?
I put it to you this way. When I put up the flags, and I said, I need help, it wasn't like overnight anybody would come to my assistance. When I had money, and I was working full-time, and I saved up, and I was making a lot of money, I was giving 20% of my net to tzedakah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was taking care of people in this community.
Mm-hmm.
But when it all turned around on me, and I found myself on the other side, people, the organizations and the people I gave to, right? Which I didn't care. I didn't put them through rigors or anything. I just gave the money. When it turned around and I needed help, it wasn't as fast getting the money to me from them as it was when I gave the money to them. The speed of light was by comparison, me giving to them was the speed of light. Them giving to me was a traffic jam on the 405. Okay, so I have a lot of resentment, but I've learned something, because if it ever turns around again, I know exactly how I'm going to handle the situation. I know who's going to be rewarded and who's not.
I mean, you also do get a lot of support. I mean, you get Tomke shots.
Oh, don't use names here.
Well, you've spoken about that on the show.
Okay.
I'm not bringing that up out of the blue. It's like, oh, suddenly I'm going to... But you do get a lot of support. I mean, you make appeals on Facebook, and I assume you don't make appeals because nobody ever helps.
Well, do you think it's all the From people helping me?
I think some of it is
It's on Facebook. It's mostly non-Jews who are helping me. I'm just saying.
And also, you've chosen to absent yourself from the community. It's harder to get help when you withdraw and don't...
It's very simple, Levi. If I gave you a couple $100 every month
Mm-hmm.
for years,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned around and I said, "Hey, Levi, can you start handing me some of the money back?"
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if I'm who I am in the community. It doesn't matter how poor I am. You don't have to research anything, do you? You don't have to interrogate me. You don't have to put me through hoops. You don't have to, know anything about me. I come to you. I'm the one who's giving you money. I see. Now I need it. What do? You would give it to me. You don't ask questions. You give it to me.
Exactly.
And that's the problem that I have faced, and it depresses me. And you know what? It could be very simple. It's a Jew thing. It's not a Frum thing, but it's a Jew thing. The Jews are really fucking tight with their money, and money talks. And when they have the position of they are the ones with the money, suddenly they become like control freaks and get all powerful.
So you don't think that Jews, in particular Torah Jews, are any more charitable than non-Jews?
I didn't say that.
Well, you said you're as likely to starve to death in the Frum community as outside of it.
You just contradicted yourself. You just answered yourself.
You said you're as likely to starve to death in the Frum community as outside of it. And I say that's not true.
I said it could happen.
Oh, obviously anything could happen.
It could happen. I would not. What I'm saying is, I would not say automatically, right, that the Frum community is so perfect and is really going to help you, right? Because that's not necessarily the case.
Well, there's no perfection in this world. There's never anything that works all the time. Like nothing works all the time. But generally speaking, if you belong to a community, whether it's a Jewish one or a Christian one or just a bunch of secular writers, if you belong to a community and form ties with people and get tight with people, then people are going to be more likely to help you out. And if you live a life absent from community, it's going to be more difficult for you to get help. But neither one is perfect. There's no perfect solution for going through life. There's no guarantees in life. There's no one way that's like, oh, this will always be there for you. Like, sometimes see on TV or even hear people say, I will always be there for you. Well, no one can always be there for anyone else.
I learned that.
You have so many
I got to tell you like this.
obligations.
I had a friend, right, who I was friends with for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A Frum guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were both doing pretty good, money-wise, right? There was a time, check this out, there was a time when I had a job and I had a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have a job. Right? And I offered him everything. I totally took care of the guy until he got set up and he was on his feet and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, he always said, Rabs, if it all goes to shit for you, I'll be there for you.
Right.
Said, I'll be there for you.
Yeah.
right? What's so funny?
I can just see where this is going.
What happened?
Well, I assumed that he wasn't there for you.
The guy was totally not there for me. When I lost my job, I said, hey, this guy was making some major boohoo money now.
Yeah.
He got set up.
Yeah.
Right? This guy's making like $1 million a year.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. He went from not having a job to the
Yeah.
guy's making like $1 million a year or more.
Yeah.
Right? And I said, hey, can you help me out?
Yeah.
Because you can make the difference.
Yeah.
If you give me 10% of your income,
Mm-hmm.
right? As tzedakah,
Mm-hmm.
and I become that guy,
Mm-hmm.
I've got all my problems solved.
Right.
He said, I'm not contributing to you at all.
And why?
He said, because I'm not convinced that you can't just go work and take care of yourself. And he proceeded to take all that tzedakah money and give it to all these various organizations that he felt were more legit.
Right.
Also, they give him a tax ID thing.
Yeah, they give tax write-off.
Yeah. I find that extremely offensive, and I cut him off completely. I find that extremely offensive. What a fuck! What a piece of shit to judge my situation and to tell me that, just go and get a job. Anyone who says that to me can go fuck themselves. That's all I gotta say. Because you obviously have no clue of me and my situation. Anyone who just says, go have kids, or just, just go marry somebody who's got kids already, or just go, and you have no clue, just shut up. Shut the fuck up, really. And if you have a problem with me telling you that, then delete me. Get out of my life. I can't stand people who have no clue and shoot their mouth off on me, make judgments against me, and tell me what to do when you have no fucking clue. Oh, I like being broken up. I broke it up the other day with Esther, right? And the anger is just coming right out. I think you can feel it tonight.
Yeah, I can feel it tonight, but it's not that deep normally. I mean, it's fairly close to the surface. Like, I know you're angry and upset tonight, but virtually everything you've said tonight, you've said many times before.
Right, but not with the exclamation point.
The anger is more raw tonight, but it's always there. It's always there. It's just like tonight is right at the surface, and usually it's 1.5 inches under the surface.
Right. You know what? It's like this is how I always am. Like right after a bad breakup, I go into it. I don't give a shit mode, right? And I'm just gonna fucking say it, right? And I just don't give a shit. Maybe that's why we're tuned in. We have 14 people watching us, which I think is like the most we've had since we started. We have 14 people watching us right now, and because maybe they think, okay, Raps is going to really let it fly tonight, and like in a way I am, because I just don't give a fuck anymore. Every time some piece of shit thing like this happens in my life, it just pushes me off the edge that much more. Okay, I don't know where we're headed next when this whole thing unfolds, but I just get like that much more like fuck you to everybody. It's just like fuck you. I'm not going to put up with anything because my life is so fucked, right? So like if you're judging me, if you're saying stupid shit in my face, I have virtually nothing to keep me from just saying go fuck yourself because I don't care anymore. Okay, it's 50 years of being put through the fucking ringer, right? I just don't have time for you and your bullshit, right? And I got the trigger finger going, like on Facebook. Like anybody says something stupid now, they're just gone. I don't care who the fuck you are. I really don't care, because I just don't have any. I don't have any patience anymore, any tolerance for people who are fucking idiots. What happened to our game here, dude?
They're playing a commercial.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, how does God and Torah help you, if at all, in times like this?
How does what?
How does God and Torah help you, if at all, in times like this? And it's fine to say it doesn't at all. I don't have an agenda.
if you enter Judaism because you think it's going to be all fun and games,
Or you think it'll be a comfort in tough times.
right? Then you really have something coming to you, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
We're not the feel-good religion.
Right.
If
It's
you
not
want,
the comfort religion.
if you want to feel good, wow, I'm feeling
Become
so
Christian.
great. Please become a Christian. I can hook you up. I have priests, and I know ministers, and I know some very religious Christian people.
Right.
They'd be happy to introduce you to Jesus, because Jesus is the love religion. Oh, everything is going so great in my life because I've accepted Jesus into my heart. Right? Judaism is like the opposite of that. It's like, I discovered Torah is the truth, and now my life is even more fucked. Right? We don't follow Torah because it makes us feel better. We follow Torah despite the fact that it makes us feel worse. So if you're looking for like salvation, I want to be saved, I want to feel better, Judaism is probably not the best religion for you. Because it's not about that. Judaism, Torah, is about truth. We do things because God says to do them. Because that's the truth. God did say it. We know it. It's easily provable. It's historical fact. And that's what we're dealing with here. We don't just start creating all these, feel-good stories, because that's not what it's about. And the facts speak for themselves. It would be absurd for a Jew to say that being Jewish makes you feel better, when historically that is not the facts. Nobody has suffered more than the Jews. We have a history of being dealt the shit cards. The Holocaust, the Inquisition, the pogroms, the Cossacks, the Crusades, unfucking paralleled what we have dealt with. We have dealt with one genocidal maniac after another. We have dealt with harsh times of being poor, being persecuted against, being beaten up, tortured. Every single century, we have been targeted for the last 2,000 years. Every single country in Europe is covered with Jewish blood. There is no place, there's no part of Jewish history that has been just like, oh, it's been so great to become a Jew. This is not a pleasure cruise. This is no bed of roses. Okay? Levi, ask him, you're a ger. Why the fuck would you want to be... You think like joining the Jews is going to make you feel better?
Yeah, I think it does, but it's
Boy,
it's
you
not as
misled.
comforting as Christianity, and I think being Jewish is a good thing for many people. They do get pleasure out of it. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, observing Torah. It's not going to make you feel bad. It can, some people.
Okay, I can go into that.
Yeah.
You want to differentiate?
Mm-hmm.
Here's how I knock that down. It was once told me, I love this quote. 30 years ago, someone told me this. They said, if you're getting involved in Yiddishkeit and you're not getting happier, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And they're right. But here's the thing. To not do something, you're doing something wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means you have to align yourself with what makes you happy. So what makes a person happy? So it says, right?
Let's turn on the air conditioning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're watching a Ustream, or if you're watching the
You want to just
YouTube,
press on?
yeah, just hit the on button. And you have at 65, probably about 68. If you're watching and you can't hear us, it's because Levi wanted the air conditioner. Here's how it goes. It says matzah isha, matzah isha, matzah tov. What does that mean?
Something about a wife.
Good, a good wife and a good matzah.
Yeah.
Some really delicious matzah.
Okay.
Matzah isha matzah tov. Matzah isha matzah tov. Someone who's found a woman found good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It says it's not good for man to be alone. Right? So we already know. What's the formula to be happy? What's the formula
To get married.
You have to get married.
Yeah.
So when someone says, "Oh, you're not happy," that means you're doing something wrong. I'd be the first to tell you, yeah, the thing that I'm doing wrong is that I'm not married. However, it's not like joining the army, where you just go and you sign up and you're in, right? You have to be recruited and you have to be accepted by some woman. That means God has to send you your other half. Because we learn that these things don't come from down here. Your besheret, your other half, is your zivug, your partner, is sent to you by God. But He doesn't necessarily send everyone a partner. So if you don't get sent a partner, you're shit out of luck. You're SOL, man. You are on your own without a paddle. You are fucked solid. Okay? Now, someone's going to say you're doing something wrong. Yeah, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not getting married. But whose fault is that? That's not your fault. It's God's way of doing it. I don't want to say it's His fault. It's God's. That's His doing. God doesn't want you married. God does not want you married. You're going to be single. You're going to be on your own. You're going to be celibate and lonely. You're going to be jacking off, dialing into LukeFord.com, right? Oh, I gotta plug you. And that's it. That's going to be your matzah. That's your mitzias. That's what your inner essence being is going to be for the next. That's how you're going to materialize for the next how many years? Okay, so you're not really doing anything wrong. You're just not doing what makes you happy, what will make you happy, and it's not really your fault because if you're doing all the footwork, to make that happen, but the bracha's not there, there's nothing you can do. You can just keep going to the fridge and keep pulling out the container, but there's no liquid in it. Take it away.
So I don't think most non-Orthodox Jews understand how little tochacha, reproof, goes on in Orthodox Jewish life. It's not like when you go to a traditional Jewish synagogue that subscribes to the Torah and all the hundreds of commandments, then you think, oh, well, people are just going to be letting each other know all the time when they're not living up to these hundreds of commandments. And it doesn't really work that way. As long as you're not publicly violating things or flaunting how you violate the Torah, as long as you're not flaunting beliefs that are contrary to the Torah, people basically leave you alone. You don't get constantly reproved. So there's a lot of reproof in this week's Torah portion, and God tells the Jews that if you don't follow the Torah, then all these horrible things are going to happen. But as far as the way Torah Jews speak to each other, there's not a lot of reproof these days, not at least in the circles I know. So, you'll certainly find some individuals who are obnoxious, but generally speaking, you go to a traditional synagogue, people aren't going to start setting you straight about where you're going wrong, unless they know you, they've got some bonds with you, they're connected with you, and then they might say, hey, Levi, you're not really living up to what you need to do in the following areas. But we're not constantly giving reproof to each other. That's not the way the Torah world that I've experienced generally operates.
Oh, yeah.
People think it's this is a religion with thousands of rules. So I think a lot of outsiders think, oh, you guys must be constantly letting each other have it when they don't live up to all the rules. But we're not. We understand that this is a very difficult life, that few of us can live up to all the commandments in all their ramifications, and it's a struggle. And we understand that people are fallible, and we're not looking for opportunities, generally speaking, to just let people have it for, you're failing in this and that mitzvah. In my experiences, it only happened with people who I've had bonds with.
It should be. It should be somebody who's very, very close with you.
Exactly.
And anybody else who talks, who starts judging you and telling you things, you got to tune those people out.
Yeah.
It says, you mentioned tochacha, right?
Yeah.
The pasuk says, tochech chochiach es amisecha, right? You should do chachacha on your brothers, right? But Rashi says, Misha icha b'Torah mitzvahs. It's your chavrusa, the person that you learn with, you do Torah with.
Yeah.
Your chavrusa, right? That should be the only person, or maybe your own Rav.
Yeah.
Right? Or you might, in your case, me. I can tell you things.
Yeah.
But someone who's like really tight with you is involved in your day-to-day Yiddishkeit.
Yeah.
Right? They're learning with you.
Someone has done favors for you, lent you money, brought you to their home, set you up for work. People who've done you favors.
Right.
They have
Not some Joe Schmo in the shul.
Right. Not some Joe Schmo who's never done anything for you.
He's in the shul with you, right?
Right, and he just comes and marches over.
You're not davening right.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I don't like the way you daven.
Yeah.
You come too late. You come too early.
Yeah.
You're going too fast. You go too loud. You shuckle your ass too much.
Right.
Because that really is? That's his insecurities. Because what do people do?
That's an obnoxious person. Because he's probably like that elsewhere.
He's probably like that with his wife,
Yeah.
and he does the same shit. Rabbi Miller talks about this. He says that he gets calls from everybody's wives. He said this one day during his Shabbos speech. He said, all your wives call me, and they tell me all the crap that you guys do at home. And I hear it all. I know exactly what's going on, right? Because this, it's interpersonal relationships, right? But I'm saying there's a high tendency amongst some people that when they feel insecure about themselves, so they have a tendency to find fault with other people.
Yeah.
And they push other people down, and that makes them feel better about themselves.
Right.
So the guy who comes up to you in the middle of shul, and there's always a guy. If you were in yeshiva, you would see this all the time because yeshiva's filled with guys like
very
this.
Competitive and so.
They come over and they're not comfortable with the fact that they're jealous of you or whatever, and they will just come over and start hawking you a chinik about how you're not doing X, Y, and Z right? Some guy just walked into our chat room, by the way, right? And he fits this to a T.
Yeah.
There's a person in our chat room called JT Frummy, and she's come in to the chat room. I don't know who this person is from Adams.
Right.
And they're trashing me and trashing you, trashing the show, right? They're too froom for the room. They're too froom for the room, and they think they're all like this and that, right? And they're poo-pooing the show right in there, right? This is typical of what goes on in a shul or yeshiva, right? Where somebody who it's not their business, and this person's wonderful because they're anonymous. They're one of these cowardly anonymous internet people. Right? No one knows who they are. They haven't divulged who they are. So they can just take pot shots at somebody else who's doing something. So somebody else who's got something going, they're going to go in there and try to paint us in a bad light in front of all of our fans, in front of our followers. And then you wonder why I won't open up. I don't want to open up with details in this show. Because there's no control over the chat room. Because I would bounce this person out.
So this is a little different than regular life in that we're putting on a show. This is public, and we're also pretty abrasive. So it's a different environment than, if we were just talking, the two of us, quietly in a corner.
Right.
It would be much less likely that this guy would come on over and say.
It's funny how we both think it's a guy. It could be a woman.
Oh, I'd say it's 99% it's a guy.
Why? Based on what?
That's just my sense of things.
Okay.
But something you said spoke to me in that, I understand people who light fires, forest fires.
Oh, okay.
Like when I was a kid.
Pyromaniacs?
Yeah, pyromaniacs. I understand pyromaniacs because when I was a kid, I deliberately tried to light, on 2 occasions, I tried to light fires. I went out in the field. Yeah, I went out in the field, cigarettes, matches, and I started fires. And then I ran off. And then, when a few minutes later, friends and I were driving down the road, and we go, oh, look, there's a fire down there, and, there's the neighbor putting it out with a hose. But, yeah, on 2 occasions when I was about 8 or 9. And I've had that same tendency throughout my life. I've not lit physical fires since I was 8. Did that twice when I was 8 or 9. I've never, not that. But I light fires on the internet. I create conflagrations on the internet. because I think almost all of us try to recreate in the outside world what's going on in our inside world. Like if we're unhappy, if we're conflicted, if we're fighting with ourselves, if we're, there's all sorts of trauma and battles going on inside of us, then we'll try to recreate that in the outside world. Like people who are creating trouble in the outside world, they're not usually happy, serene people. They're angry, upset people. Now, not every angry, upset person goes out and creates trouble, but generally speaking, I think that what goes on inside of us, we try to recreate it outside of us. And I also understand suicide bombers, because as you were talking about a couple of shows ago, I am susceptible to cults. Like, I am really susceptible to anyone or any group that says, we accept you. Okay. You can come be a part of us. So who do you think are suicide bombers? Do you think they're the elite? No, they're not the elite. They're not the popular kids. It's not the successful kids. It's not the really well-educated kids. It's the kids who are total losers, often mentally retarded, but they're losers. And then the terrorists come along and say, hey, do you want to be successful? Do you want to be, have your face everywhere? Do you want thousands of people watching your video? Do you want to do something great for your people? Do you want to be a household name? Do you want to be, loved and adored and have great pleasure in the world to come? Come be a suicide bomber. And so if I'd grown up in Palestine, the Palestinian territories, or that sort of environment, I would have been really vulnerable to that kind of talk. Because I'm always looking for some cause to lose myself in. I'm always looking to be accepted, and always looking for people to think I'm great. I'm always looking to be a household name and have people watch my videos. And so Jews luckily aren't suicide bombers, so it's not something I'm going to do. But I totally understand suicide bombers. Like, they want to be successful, they want to make an impact on the world. Just like arsonists. An arsonist looks out and sees all the big fires that he set, and thinks, wow, I had a really dramatic impact on the world. And F them. I'm mad at them. They never gave me tzedakah.
All right, you keep it going. I got to go to the restroom. Right back.
Okay. So, yeah, I understand suicide bombers, and I understand arsonists, and I understand the desire to kind of recreate havoc in the outside world, to reflect havoc that's going on in your inside world. So there's complaints here about the language. I don't like to use profanity, so you're not going to find me using profanity. It's very rare that I use profanity, so I believe in not doing that. And obviously the rabbi has his own derech, his own ways. And I don't tend to think in the same way the rabbi does about how everything that happens, it's from God. I certainly don't deny that perspective, but it's not the way I generally look at life. I generally think that if you're in possession of your faculties, if you've got your mental health and your physical health, and you live in a land of opportunity, you can make of yourself good things, and it's not God that decides whether you get married or not. But I understand the more traditional religious attitude that everything comes from God. That's not the way that I generally look at life. Rabbi Beryl Wine writes, warning people about what will happen to them centuries later down the road of history rarely affects their current behavior. People do all sorts of things when they're younger that they know will be injurious to their health and eventually shorten their lifespan. Yeah, I remember when I was getting over this relationship. It was a very painful relationship, and so I'm placing some singles ads to try to solve my pain. And so I met this black woman who was an alcoholic.
That didn't take long.
And I didn't have a car at the time, so she picked me up and she took me home, and we talked for a few hours, and then she said that I could sleep on the couch and she'd take me back in the morning. So I bed down on the couch, And then about 15 minutes later, she comes out and says, "Oh, I feel bad. You can come in and sleep with me." And so I did some things that were, injurious to my neshama and possibly my physical health, because I was young and just wanted to get away from my heartache. And I've done a lot of reckless things, and caught the old HIV. Just
Shut up.
5 minutes of ecstasy in the bathhouse, and now
Shut
I've got
up.
a deadly disease for life.
He did not.
Okay,
Okay.
let me get back to my. Can I see my?
Yeah, we need that air conditioner, man. It's really hot.
Maybe I should slip into something a little more comfortable.
Oh, God.
Okay, Rabbi Beryl Wine writes, there are two prophecies recorded in the Bible regarding the future of the Jewish people. One predicted that a fox would emerge from the ruins of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. The other prediction was that Jewish old men and women would sit in joy and contentment in the streets of Jerusalem and watch children at play. And this latter prophecy seems to be fulfilled now, that like you see children playing in the streets of Jerusalem. It seems like a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Or even if you just go to a traditional synagogue, you'll usually find it filled with children. And if
Oh
you go
my
to
God, do you not hear what you just did? You earlier said that when someone claims that they know what's the doings of God, that they are a fool and you ignore them. But you are now telling us with a straight face that these prophecies are being fulfilled by X, Y, and Z.
This is typical of you. You completely distort
No,
what I
it's
say.
typical of you.
Because you can't just deal with what I say just on its own. You have to completely distort it. First of all, I didn't say that this is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I said it looks like it. I didn't say it is. And then I was condemning those who say that specific Jews have suffered because they did not fulfill specific mitzvahs. I did not say you could never point to God's hand in history.
Whenever someone uses today's state of Israel and points to a Bible prophecy, I say there's a fool.
Okay, great.
Nothing, and you can quote me on this, and it's not me. This is what the Gedolings say. There is nothing. Nothing! You got nothing! There is nothing that the state of Israel brings today that fulfills even one prophecy. If you think that there's anything messianic or prophetic about the state of Israel, and that it somehow ties into biblical scriptures, then you are a fool. Go ahead.
So when you go to Orthodox synagogues in the world, usually they're filled with children at play. And it's heartening and it's encouraging to see the Jewish people sustaining, reproducing, and growing and becoming larger and more powerful. I remember when my parents met some Jewish kids for probably the first time. I remember my parents saying, "Wow, they're very rambunctious, aren't they?" And compared to the non-Jewish kids that I've known, generally speaking, the Jewish ones are more outgoing, more rambunctious. The Gentile Protestant kids that I grew up with were generally much more restrained and polite than kind of the roughhousing Jewish kids that I've known. There are many benefits to obeying God's commandments, but that's not why we observe them. Because if that was the reason we observe the commandments and then we observe them and we didn't get the benefits, we'd quit observing them. The reason we observe the commandments is because God said to do it. God is in a better position than we are to know what is best. Rabbi Beryl Wine writes, the opening commandment in this week's Torah portion deals with Shemitah, the sabbatical year for the land of Israel when the ground was allowed to lie fallow and the farmer abstained from his regular routine of work. The traditional commentators of the Torah emphasize that even though the ground and the farmer would benefit in the long run from the year's inactivity, this was not the reason for the commandment. So there are always side benefits, often from obeying commandments of the Torah, but they're never the reason or the basis for the commandment itself. Now, Torah commandments can be very difficult, particularly, say, the commandment of Shemitah, which is the 7th year of rest. You're supposed to leave your land fallow in the land of Israel, which Jews historically have never fully observed. Now, I noticed a lot of people have an all or nothing approach. I had a girlfriend who was raised Orthodox and then left it, and she was always filled with contempt with me because I was not perfect in my observance of Torah. So, like, you can always find reasons to dismiss people.
Speaking of dismiss, I'm kicking them out.
Yeah, I don't care.
How do I...
Kick. Okay. Can I...
I just kicked out JT Frummy. Gone. I want to do that to Lakewood Rob, too. If you come into the chat room and you trash me or Luke or both, you're gone. I don't have time for you in my life. Get out of here. Go ahead.
So Rabbi Wein points out, Shemitah has always been a difficult test of faith for the Jewish people. Even in temple times, it appears that the commandment was never fully fulfilled. There are many reasons for this apparent laxity in observance, the most obvious one being the seeming impracticality of its observance. So there are a lot of things in Judaism that are very hard. And frankly, there are many things in Torah that are just too hard for me to live up to right now. But I don't say, oh, they're wrong, or God didn't really mean this.
Exactly.
I just accept that, hey, I can't live up to all of Torah right now.
Right.
I'm a fallible human being. I'm weak.
There's nothing wrong with that, because you're not perfect. You know? I see that far too often that there's this stupidity that circulates among people, and they think because you wear a yarmulke and you have a beard, that therefore somehow you're Jesus, you're Moses. You are kept to a standard that is just so high that it's unbelievable, and if that's the standard that you have to be kept up to, I don't want any part of that. I don't want to be kept to such a standard. I did not ask to be a role model. I did not ask to be, I didn't apply to be a priest or Jesus or Moses or anybody. You know, I'm just trying to do as best I can, right? And right now, I do a lot of things that aren't great, you know? And I don't do all the things I should be doing. If I have to be 100% perfect before we start, then I don't even want to start.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
But fuck it, right? And I got news for you. There's nobody that's perfect. There's nobody that's perfect. Everybody just is where they're at. You know what I mean? And God didn't make anybody perfect down here. That is done. If someone thinks they're perfect, then they're just so full of shit. You know? Because you're not perfect. I got news for you. There's no one here today that's perfect. There's not one person on the planet. Okay? So we all suck in our own way. You know, we're all doing sins in our own way. So just worry about yourself and don't worry about other people and what they're not doing. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you see the guy, like we talk about this a lot, this is our most famous thing. The guy goes into McDonald's. He's wearing tallis, he's got the yarmulke, the beard, the payas, the whole thing. He's going into McDonald's. I'm not talking about me because I don't
Or a whorehouse.
Goes into a whorehouse, right? Again, we're not talking about me.
Right.
Right? You know, whatever.
And I just go in there for journalistic reasons. Just
Of course, he doesn't. Right, you know, you go in there. Right, and I just go into McDonald's use the restroom.
Yeah.
No.
In the whorehouse.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Get a Coke.
Yeah. So, you know, the guy goes in there, and you say, oh my God, why is the Jew with the frummy and the beard and the rabbi, why is he going to the McDonald's? And I say, hey, there's a guy with a yarmulke. At least he's wearing tallis tzitzis. You know, at least he's doing something. You know, because he's going to go get the cheeseburger anyways, right? He's going to go get this ham and bacon double cheeseburger or whatever the fuck it is. He's going to do that anyways. But at least this guy has a beard and a yarmulke. At least he's doing something. You know?
So, I'm pretty much done, folks, so it's time for your final questions.
No, it's not. I have Rabbi Miller.
Okay, great.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we know there are kosher McDonald's in Israel, and there's a kosher Subway in Pico Roberts.
No, there's not a kosher Subway in Pico Roberts. There was. It closed down. Okay. So, Rabbi Miller says on this week's parsha, Behar-Bechukosai, we were speaking about how you started talking about the Shemitah year, which is the 7th year.
Right.
Now, did you explain exactly what happens in the 7th year?
The land is supposed to lie fallow.
So, what do people do for, you know...
They're supposed to save things up.
They save things up for the first 6 years, and they don't need anything for the 7th year. That's like living along spiritual lines. You know, you like disattach yourself. It's like I'm only going to work, 28 hours a week, and I think I'm going to make a living. All right. So, Rabbi Miller says that we see from the pasuk, from the verse in Vayikra 25, 1 through 13. The verses in Vayikra 25, 1 through 13, that we need extra strength to keep the Shemitah year. We need extra strength. You're going to be living without income for 1/7 of, for a whole year. Every 7th year, the nation did not work their fields. Whoever heard of a nation that could do such a thing, not to have a livelihood every 7th year? Like, we're going to have this nation going for 100 and something years, right? And the whole time, every 7th year, we're going to take a year off. Can you imagine that? Like, here in America, everything was shut down for a year. That, like, no computers would be made, no cars made, no, I don't know what goes on in this country, right? But nothing happens for a year. What nation would do it? What nation could do it? Only ours. Only the Jewish people. Only the Torah Jews. Why? Because God gives us special strength to be able to accomplish such things. Therefore, what is our strength? What's our strength, lady? What is that strength? How would you define it?
Well, God says that the Jewish people will be eternal, and the Jews' strength is in their knowledge and the study of Torah.
I'm not saying those things are wrong. Rabbi Miller says it's our strength to resist. Like, we have a strength to resist temptation. You have to have a strength to resist temptation because God gives us 613 mitzvahs, and as you said, there are thousands of mitzvahs that come from the 613. And each one of them, God gives a desire to transgress and fuck up that particular mitzvah. So you have to have an inner strength to resist, which is the Yetzer Tov, which is the good inclination, to fight against the evil inclination so that you can overcome that on each and every one of these mitzvahs and that you don't succumb to them, that you don't give in to your desires. Right? So you have to have this inner strength to resist. Resist the trends, resist the environment, resist the people around us. It says in Shemos 23:2, don't follow the multitude to do evil. Don't be like everybody else. That everybody else is going a certain way, and you don't agree with their way, you think it's wrong. Stand up on your own. It says in Pirkei Avos, in a place where there's no man, try to be a man. Try to be a man. Do what's right. Don't go trying to be popular. Don't try to just go with the flow because everybody's doing it this way. I'm just going to follow them down road to hell. No. Stand up and say, I'm not going to go where you guys are going. I'm going to do my own thing. And if that means I'm going to be by myself, so be it. Because at the end of the day, I'll be doing the right thing, and I'm going to end up in Olam Haba, and you guys are going to end up in Gehenna. Okay? When the entire world bowed down to idols, we resisted. Right? Isn't that how we got picked? Abraham Avinu, the entire world, everyone bowed down to idols. One guy stood up and he said, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. All this idol worship is a bunch of nonsense. And because of him, his descendants became the chosen people. We're chosen not because of our great accomplishments. We are chosen people. We are Jews. We are chosen to receive the Torah. Why? Because of the great things that our forefathers did for God. Today, when the entire world is steeped in the filth and degradation of immorality, we are a nation perfecting itself in our own modesty. And I wanted to mention this. I think it takes particular timeliness because there's all this talk. I don't know if you paid attention to it, but it seems like every time the media is always like talking about it now, it's this whole gay marriage thing. It's like really gotten a lot of speed going since last week in North Carolina.
Yeah.
You pay attention to this?
Some.
Like North Carolina said, okay, we're going to pass a law that only marriage is defined as only between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Which is the way that it should be, which is what God wants, which is one of the Noahide laws. Every person is responsible for that, right? And there was a lot of blowback, and people were trashing North Carolina and comparing them to some sort of racist and trying to push their Christianity and all these things. And I'm thinking, oh my God, the blowback is from people who want to turn this country, want to turn America in a immorally depraved society that we saw during the times prior to Abraham Avinu, when God wanted to destroy the world. Why did He destroy the world the first time with the flood? Because of
immorality.
Immorality, right? And why was He so upset with with everybody and gave it to Abraham Avinu? Because he was the only moral person. When immorality flourishes around you, that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing. And you can sugarcoat it and go, oh, well, the gays are being, prejudiced against and all this. And you can sugarcoat this, and you can take the wrong side of this issue any way you want. Right? You are on the wrong side of it. If you support gay marriage, then you're on the wrong side of the issue. And who determines who's on the right side of the issue? God does. The Torah does. Torah says that is immoral. That's immoral. And if saying these things makes me unpopular, so be it, because I don't care. B'makom she'ena noishim hishtadel lios ish. In a place where there's nobody doing what God wants, do what God wants.
Okay, God and Fun's got a question that's right in your wheelhouse. Please remind us of the Torah's view of God.
Oh God, this guy's still around. I want him out. It's banned. It's not kick.
Please remind us. Did God make them gay? If so, what is their purpose and what are they supposed to do?
Oh, okay. I want to ban this guy.
Okay, you've been clicking away. So
okay. Okay. Because the reason why he reappeared is because Luke wanted me to only kick the guy, which kicks him out, but he can come back in. But this time I just banned him. Okay. Garden Fun says, "What's the Torah's view of gay people?" Didn't I already answer this today already?
You have, but just answer it briefly.
Torah says like this: the word "gay" is not a Torah concept. We don't have heterosexuals and we don't have homosexuals. There's no such concept in Judaism. Okay, those are Western concepts that secular society has crystallized, and that's what everybody looks at through. We don't have those concepts. According to Torah, everyone is inherently bisexual. Now, some people have a very strong desire. It's not like 50-50. Some people are 50-50. Some people are equally drawn to both sides, right? But everyone has at least some attraction to somebody of each gender to some degree. Like, you might be 99% hetero, but like 1% homo, right? Or vice versa. Okay? There's no one who's 100% one way and not the other. That's just simply not true. I was dating a woman. I told this story a lot. I was dating this woman, and she said, "No, that's not true, Rebs, because I have no attraction for females. I have never been attracted to a female in my life." I was like, I don't know, because the Torah says that everyone has it. And then one day, maybe about a year later, she said to me, "You know what? You're right, because I just found myself being attracted to Beyonce." I can't get that out of my head, right? So it means that it could be that you're not attracted to anyone now, and you may never have been attracted to anyone before of a particular gender. Could be your own, or it could be the opposite. You could say, "I'm 100% gay." But you don't know. There can come a time later in your life when God does slip you a little bit of a desire for one person. So everyone, we assume, is inherently bisexual.
So God and Fun wants to know, so if someone's 98% homo, should they be trying to act on their 2%? Yes. Like just like some people are 98%, I really need to murder someone, but act on your 2% and hold back from the killing of an innocent person. So, like other people are 98%, I really need to steal this money, and then 2% of them saying, don't steal it. Other people are 99.9% of their being is saying, I really need to take some crack right now, but you got to stay with the 0.1% that says don't. So, Torah doesn't categorize people on the basis of your sexual desires to make someone's hetero or homo. We don't categorize someone on the basis of their desires for crack cocaine or for hookers or for attention. Torah assumes that everyone has all sorts of destructive desires, and you have to hold yourself in check and act on Torah's directives, not on the basis of what your heart prompts when your heart prompts you to do something against Torah. So what about the legal rights equality portion? What does Torah say about when Jews are the minority population and the majority population wants to get behind same-sex marriage? Well, the Talmud says in one section, I wish I could name it, but I can't off the top of my head, but the Talmud praised the Romans for listed off several good things that the Romans did, and one of them was that they did not make marriage between people of the same sex. So
Vespasian, that's the one about him, right? That's the Gemara about him.
So the Torah would want Jews, even if they're a minority population in a largely Gentile society, would still regard the Gentile society as righteous if it abstains from recognizing marriage between people of the same sex.
Right. Can I just jump in here? Because I wanted to... okay, so Garden Fund said, what's the gay people? And my answer to that is, there are no such thing as gay people.
Yeah.
God made them whatever they are. If they're 98% or 99% attracted to people of the same gender,
right,
they're still not gay. They're bisexual. They're no different than me, and they're no different from Levi.
Right?
Everyone
they have a stronger Yetzer Hara in that particular
thing.
Like for me, it hasn't been hard to abstain from having sex with men.
But it's
been a huge trouble.
extremely hard for you
to abstain from sex with shiksas.
Right.
Yeah, that's really hard for me.
Okay, that's really hard for you. Right. So that exactly. But you don't just let me have my way, and just open up the doors. We don't do that, right? So you have to fight. Yeah, exactly. So you have to fight the urge. Now, what are they supposed to do? It's very hard. But here's the thing. There's two things. From a Torah perspective, you got to fight against it. There's no question. You have to fight against it. Now, I have a lot of sympathy or empathy. Empathy is the word.
Yeah.
I have a lot of empathy for guys or women who are, let's say, 99 or 98% attracted to somebody of the same gender.
Yeah.
Let's say, but they're not really attracted to the other gender. Because even if we say you should try to work on your 2%, that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to find anybody who's suitable for you in that tiny 2%, right?
Right.
Because you may not even be attracted to most people. Let's say you're a guy. You're not attracted to all these women who are single and available to you. You may be attracted to a Beyonce, but obviously she's not in your category because she's not even Jewish, right? So what are you going to do, right? So it's very difficult. So it ends up that you have to. You can't be with a guy because it's not allowed. You can't find any women to marry, right? That you're attracted to or whatever. So you're going to end up alone and celibate, and you're going to end up exactly like me. So it really doesn't matter how you got to this point, right? Me and some guy who's but is only attracted to guys are going to end up living the same identical lifestyle where you're alone and doing Judaism by yourself, where you have nobody in your life, when you're all alone and single and celibate and fucked, okay? And that is the reality of whether you are like me and can't find a woman that you want and you're into women, or if you're somebody who's into guys, a guy who's into guys, and you're done. So, Either way, you're going to end up in the same lifestyle.
And even if you get married and you love your wife, even if you get married, you love your wife, and you have a good, intimate life with your wife, if you're a normal guy, you're still going to be driven to bang all sorts of other women. And so you're just like Rabs, except for you have one outlet. You have one woman who you've been fluking for 5 years, and it's not going to be that exciting to you anymore, particularly as she's gained 25 pounds from the time you got married.
You always say this.
Well, it's true. That's how it works, man. Women put on 2-3 pounds a year. They do it very subtly. And 5 years later, suddenly they're up 15 pounds. And they're 5'1", so it really shows.
This guy.
So at least if you marry a 6-footer, she gains 2 pounds a year, it'll be 10, 15 years before you'll really notice. So I just wanted to, but yeah, like every guy, you get married, and let's say you're in love with your wife and you're having a great sex life, it really starts tailing off, in the first few months, at least the first year. So, he's going to be looking around going, man, I wish I could bang my coworker. I wish I could bang that girl walking to the 7-Eleven. I wish I could bang those cheerleaders. I wish I could bang my son's girlfriend. I wish I could bang the rabbitson.
But you resist.
But if you're a mensch,
because
you resist.
We resist because we have the strength to
right,
resist.
So whether you have 99% homosexual urges, or you're just an ordinary guy, even if you're married to someone you love, if you're living in the regular world, you're going to be constantly surrounded by women who you give your right pinky to bang, and if you abstain from that, then you're a mensch, and you're doing what the Torah wants.
And you know what? Here's the thing. I don't want to be taken out of context. This is not easy for anyone. A lady may have his slip-ups. I may have my slip-ups, right?
Yeah.
And a guy who's got attractions for men only, he may have his slip-ups.
Right.
The difference is he's going to end up with a guy. I'm going to end up with some Jewish chick, in bed.
And he'll get AIDS.
And you'll get a black chick.
I'll get a black chick.
Right? And we're going to have slip-ups. Well, I can't speak for you, right? But there's going to be slip-ups, right? I don't hold that against a person because I'm not judging them. Okay, I'm not saying, you've got to be perfect. Remember, we talked about the guy who says, you've got to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of friends who do the gay act, right? Who do the homo act, right? But the difference is this. Is it right or is it wrong?
Yeah.
And if you say it's wrong, it's a sin, it goes against God, and I shouldn't be doing it, but I can't help it, because this guy really looks good to me, okay, I have no problem with you. I have no problem, because that's your business.
But if you march down the street in a tutu and say, I want to be accepted in my relationship with my man in the same way the society treats heterosexual marriage
exactly.
couples,
that's a problem.
then I got a problem with you.
That's right, because it should not be. It should be something that's considered wrong. Okay, it's when it's considered normal. That, Rabbi Miller says, is a disaster, because that is what brings on destruction of the universe, because God does not want that stuff normalized and accepted. It should always be wrong. It should always be done in discretion, right? And it's nobody's business. Your orgasm is not my business, right? It's when you have
I should do it on my face.
Right.
That is my business.
And then you get sued. Right? I don't care what you do in your house. I really don't. If Lady has a bunch of gay boys over at his house all week, I don't care. Right? I really don't care. Right? It doesn't really change anything. But when Lady says, this
is cool. This is a good thing.
This reform. Quote some reform rabbi who says that that's actually allowed.
Gunther Plaut.
Huh?
Gunther Plaut.
Then I have a problem, because that's heresy, right? When you start saying that God's okay with this, that's heresy. When you start saying everyone's just make this normal, we all agree that it's the same as then I have a problem because you're degrading society. Okay? And yes, it's all goes back to the Torah. Because if you believe in God, and this is a God-fearing country, which it always has been, it's how it's been created, then we know that what happens when you start demoralizing the very fabric of our nation. God's going to wipe us out. Why is He protecting us?
So important.
Oh, you're done?
I am. Is that okay? It's almost a 2-hour show.
But let me just answer Garden Fund's questions.
Okay, go ahead.
What about the legal rights equality portion, right? There's no, I just want to talk about this real quickly. This is just politics. It has nothing to do with Judaism. But it's very simple. Everyone has the right to get married. It's not like we say black people can't get married or Mexicans can't get married. We don't say that. Everyone, male and female, every single person in America has the right to get married. And marriage is defined as only between a man and a woman. It's very simple. Every single man can marry a woman, and every single woman can marry a man. What's going on here is they want to redefine the word marriage. Turn it into something that it's not. Pervert the word marriage. That is not a civil rights issue. Okay, that's been misled. That's not an equal rights issue. That's a redefining of a word in the vocabulary. And that word was given to us and defined by God. And that's it. Done. Can't redefine it. Now, the other thing that you said is, what if the couple becomes, they're two guys, but they're going to have a celibate relationship. Okay? So they haven't done anything wrong according to Torah because they didn't have the Homo Act. They're just like roommates. Right? Why do they need to get married? Why do they need to take that term and pervert it? They want to live together. They want to have a civil union, do whatever they want to do. I don't care what Tom and Larry do next door. I really don't care. It's their business. But they can't take the term marriage and pervert it into something that the word does not mean. It's like taking the word something like God and saying it also means cars. What? That's retarded. Okay. And lastly, you said, he says, in a hospital after surgery, the spouse can come in, but a partner of 40 years cannot. All you have to do for things like that is change the laws of the hospital, change the rules of the hospital, or go to a hospital that respects your things. Because some people might want more than just the spouse. They might want their friends in there, whatever. That's got nothing to do with marriage. That's got to do with the rules of the hospital. But don't pervert the word marriage because of that. For the taxes together if desired, I don't care because that's tax law. You can change the tax law for anything you want, right? But you don't change the term of marriage. Okay, is that it?
Okay, kiddies, don't have gay marriage, and stay off the crack, and stay in yeshiva.
All right. Good show.